Oh, hello, how are you? It's been a while. I don't know if you saw from my community post, but the other week, one of the weeks where I didn't post here, I actually did my very first eSIM race. I was racing online on Assetto Corsa Competizione and I won! Yay! My partner actually streamed that race on his YouTube channel, so I will put a link to that in the description down below if you're interested to see something a little bit different from me. But in this video, let's take a look at Amarejo, because we haven't been here in a little while, and judging from the titles, we got some things that are not related to weddings or babies today, so this is good. So the first one, am I the asshole for not wanting to pay for my sister's wig after I called her a bald-headed broke bitch? Seems a little bit harsh. So OP is a 17-year-old male and says, my sister, 18-year-old female, decided to get a pixie cut. She had for about 2 weeks now, and now she hates it. Or she had it for about 2 weeks, and now she hates it. She came to me and told me that it's embarrassing. My hair is longer than hers, and she wants me to shave my head. Bitch, fuck off. I don't think so. I told her that I would not shave my head and that if she doesn't like how her hair is, she should just get a wig instead. She told me that she doesn't have money to buy a wig, and so I told her to ask her parents to get her one, and she told me that she wasn't going to do that because they were the ones who advised her not to cut her hair in the first place, and it'll be embarrassing to admit that they were right. She then asked me to cut my hair, and I told her no. She then got mad at me and told me that no man actually cared about their hair, and if I wanted to be a girl so bad, I should just say that instead. She sounds pathetic, honestly. This pissed me off, so I told her that it wasn't my fault, she was a bald-headed broke bitch, and if she wanted to get a wig, she should just get a job instead. Yeah, because she's 18 years old, right? She's a grown-ass adult by now, yeah. Where am I? She should get a job instead. She was not happy when I called her bald-headed and went to go tell her parents. Our parents got mad at both of us for arguing, and then after they got done yelling at us, my dad told me that he wants me to pay for my sister's wig. Fuck off! What are these people on? Why? There's absolutely no reason for him to pay for the wig. It was the sister's decision to cut her hair. She needs to live with that decision. What does it have to do with the brother? This is so stupid. He told me that I had to pay for her wig because what I said to her was disrespectful. He said what she said was wrong, but what I said was worse. I told him that I only said that because she kept antagonizing me. He kept insisting that me paying for the wig was going to be my punishment and he'll think of something for her. Yeah, right, wigs can cost thousands, okay? Unless you're looking for some fucking €25 bullshit from Amazon, which I don't even know if you can get them that cheap off Amazon. But if you want something that you're actually going to want to wear outside the house when it's not Halloween, that's going to cost a lot of fucking money. And honestly, given what she said to him, he was just throwing it back. Do you know what I mean? So actually, I initially was like, that's quite harsh, but I don't think it was in the end after what she said. This is so fucking stupid. I told him that I've been saving my money since I started working and I wasn't going to spend any of it on her. I told my dad that if it takes money out of my account, if he takes money out of my account, why does he have access? That I wasn't going to speak to him until he puts everything back. Because knowing my sister, she's probably going to try and pick the most expensive one. My parents are upset with me because they said I'm trying to run away from my accountability and that they find it unreasonable that I would try and punish them for that. I don't see why they can't pay for it themselves. This is pathetic. Like, you know, like, I've given you my opinion already. This is so fucking stupid. I thought it was going to be like, I don't know, that, you know, for some reason beyond her deciding to get a haircut is why she needed a wig, and that the OP was going to be like, you know, kind of actually responsible or somehow, like, whatever. But no, this is just fucking stupid. If you get your haircut, fucking deal with it. Like, there's no need to be trying to be mean to another person just because they're male and have shorter and have longer hair than you. That's like super pathetic. And then why should he have to buy the wig? Like, okay, I understand the parents being like, this is a stupid fucking argument, you shouldn't be speaking to each other like that. That should in itself equal out. Why does he have to pay thousands for a wig when she was the one that started it, and it's like completely disproportionate to the situation, you know what I mean? And then how is it punishing them? How is it punishing the parents that he doesn't want to pay for this fucking wig? This is so stupid. Not the asshole. Next one. Oops. Am I an asshole for defending my son for using a different language when he was upset during an argument at kindergarten? Probably not. So I, 36-year-old female, have been married to my wonderful wife, Anna, 35 female, for the past 10 years. We have a 5-year-old son, Liam. Anna and I both work during the day, so Liam spends the time until one of us can pick him up at his kindergarten. The other day, Liam's teacher called me and said they would appreciate if we both were able, they would appreciate if we both were available when we picked him up because they had gotten in an argument and they wanted to talk to us. Initially, I was worried, so I moved a few of my meetings and called my wife. We both went to pick him up. The whole issue was he had gotten into an argument with a girl over the rules of the game that they were playing. The teacher said as he got angry, he started speaking in a different language and no one could understand what he was on about. The other kid's parents said it was offensive to speak in a way that no one understood. Please, and we should have taught him better. How old is this boy? He's 5 years fucking old. Now, I'm a Greek woman, my wife is French. We live in an English-speaking country, and while Liam can certainly speak English, he occasionally uses Greek and French. Both Anna and I learned each other's languages, so our household is a mix of all three at different times. He picked up on both of them and can speak them more or less. I said we've clearly taught him well since he's been able to speak in other languages fluently this whole time, but only slipped when he was frustrated during an argument. I said it was in no way offensive, that it was a human reaction, and that Liam would surely get it under his full control over time, but he is 5 now, so maybe we should all take a fucking deep breath. I agree completely. The other kids' parents were extremely mad, saying their daughter was so upset she cried after the argument and that Liam had to apologise about making her feel this frustration via using another language. They were arguing about the rules of the game. That was probably the reason why she was upset. And she's fucking 5. Of course she's going to cry over nothing. Do you know what I mean? Like, saying it's offensive, that's pathetic. Fuck off. My wife answered them with the same overall point as I did, but they didn't back down. Even the teacher said we had to work on Liam not making this a recurring theme, which is fair. It happened one fucking time when he was upset. Please. After the meeting was over and we were going to drive away, the other kid's dad made a comment along the lines of, "You're all arrogant rich people driving cars like this and thinking whatever you're doing is right." Fuck off. These people got nothing better to do. In front of their kids. I got really mad and said, "I hope you're a better parent than what I'm guessing you are." After we went home, Anna and I did tell Liam not to speak to other people in a language they don't understand. Later we talked among ourselves and wondered if we really did escalate the whole argument even more. I'm asking on behalf of both of us. Were we the assholes? No, the boy was fucking 5 years old. He speaks 3 different languages. He was in a playground setting or a class setting, whatever, where he and another child were upset. He got a little bit frustrated and started speaking in a different language that the kid didn't understand. That's totally like a human, fair reaction. I don't think it's worth calling someone's parents into to discuss about. Like, I mean, I get if maybe, you know, like the next time you see one of the parents, oh, by the way, just so you know, there was a little bit of an incident where, you know, 2 of the kids were arguing about the rules of the game and then Liam started speaking another language and, you know, generally I think it would just be better if you spoke English here, just thought, you know, I would let you know. But it's not like a fucking punishable offence, my God. Oh. Next. Am I the asshole? I asked my wife to skip a day of gym because my aunts were visiting. So my aunts, who are almost like my parents, who raised me during my teenage years, are visiting my city. They rarely go out of where they live and go on vacations. After so much convincing for a year between my sister and I, they finally decided to. It's like a mini vacation for them. My kids are on a spring break for that week too and had no plan for the day. So my sister and I decided to take them someplace on that day with the kid, of course along with my wife. Her first reaction when I said it, "Oh, I have the gym class that day. I haven't been there for a week." To which my response is, "Can you not skip it?" After a few days, she kept saying, "Can I not go?" and such. I responded yesterday and just say, "Could you just go for me to make me happy?" Let's continue. Today she brought up again, to which I have no response. When we were choosing the time, she suggested afternoon because morning is her gym hour. I told her it would be too hot in the afternoon and morning is better. Then she said she really wants to go to the gym. Then I told her, is your gym really that important? And now she's mad. For context, she's not an exercise freak or anything. She just started going to this gym class like 4 months ago. Before that, she never does any gym or exercise anyway. Last week, her kid was sick, we brought him home, she missed her class, and I even okayed she leaves the kid with me. Oh, you okayed? You were so fucking big that you said, it's okay, I'll take care of her fucking son? Fuck off. I even okayed that she leaves the kid with me. Oh, well, she goes to a makeup class. By the way, I work from home and she doesn't work at all. She's a stay-at-home mum. It's still both of your kids. Oh my god. So what's the question? Am I the asshole? I asked my wife to skip a day of gym because my aunts were visiting. So if it was literally just, oh, my aunts are visiting that day, like, do you want to come with us? Oh, sorry, I've got the gym. Well, can you skip a day? Like, is it okay to skip it and go another day? That's fine. But being like, one, can you not just go for me to make me happy? Make yourself happy. Saying that like, oh, she never goes to the gym anyway and she's only just started going recently. Well, like, even more reason that she wants to keep it up. Like, you should be encouraging her, like, if that's what she wants to do. If her new thing is, I want to go to the gym regularly, therefore I don't want to miss this class, that's fucking fair enough. If she doesn't want to fucking go with your aunts, if she's like, honestly, I would rather not, don't fucking try and force her to go. Don't try and guilt trip her into doing something that you want her to do but that she's not comfortable with. Do you know what I mean? And then as well, right, why can't she come meet you afterwards, after the class? What's wrong with that? Or why don't you fucking delay it for 1 hour? Do you know what I mean? Because I'm sure the gym class isn't going to be longer than an hour. There's a compromise that you're going to be able to find. I think this whole, like, fucking making it a thing is just unnecessary, because it sounds as if you're making it a fucking thing. I don't think the wife wants to go, which, to be honest, is her responsibility to say that. Like, I don't want to go, I want to go to this gym class. But if you can't respect your wife saying, I want to go to my gym class, I'm going to go to my gym class, like, that's a you problem. Do you know what I mean? She's a grown-ass adult. She can decide what to do. You're a fucking parent. You shouldn't be put out by having to look after your son when he's sick. Do you know what I mean? Oh. I don't know why I do this sometimes, because it just annoys me. I mean, like, it does give me, like, a bit more energy and stuff, because I get, like, pent up or whatever. But yeah. Anyway, what's the next one? Am I an asshole for telling my sister that she shouldn't overvalue herself and prepare for the worst? I don't know what that means. So I, 21-year-old female, have an older sister who we'll call Eve, who's a 29-year-old female, who had her first child, Laurie, who's 1 year old. And while this should be a time of joy and excitement, there's actually a lot of tension and brewing resentment between her, our mum, and her husband, Jack, who's a 29-year-old male. Despite it being unplanned, Eve's pregnancy was wanted and Jack was an involved partner. We went to most of Eve's appointments, took the birthing classes, he went to most of Eve's appointments, took the birthing classes, and supported Eve's decision to just have her mum in the room while he waited outside when she gave birth. The plan was for our mum to be by Eve's side in the room and to help stay for a week after Laurie was born. Everyone was cool with this, but unfortunately our aunt got into some drama with her husband in another state, and our mum rushed over to be at her sister's side. Eve was already in her 3rd trimester, so Jack didn't like the idea of her mum going and voiced it. Our mum tore Jack a new one, and Eve even got on his case about it, so he apologised. However, Eve ended up going into labour, and Jack ultimately was the one in the room while our mum was away. When she called, our mum expressed being sad over not being there for the birth of her first grandchild, and she and Eve decided that no one else in the family would see Laurie until she got back. Why are all these things stupid? I don't want to call the people stupid, but that's stupid. Without discussing it with Jack. He was understandably not happy, as his mum lived about 45 minutes away and was looking forward to meeting Laurie too, as she was the first grandchild on both sides. Eve pulled the I just gave birth card, and Jack reluctantly allowed it. On the day that our mum was supposed to come back, she missed her flight and couldn't get a new one until the following morning. Our mum could have just rented a car, but she didn't want to spend the money since the airline wouldn't refund it. Jack was brought up allowing his mum to come again. Allowing his mum to come again, but Eve refused, citing that he already agreed. Unfortunately, Jack's mum was in a car accident and passed before even getting to meet Laurie. Since Eve wouldn't even allow a video chat, fucking hell, Jack was distraught, understandably fucking so. He moved into the guest bedroom, went to the funeral alone, she didn't even fucking go with him, and refuses to engage with Eve at all. Wait. So Laurie is 1 fucking year old and they're still not talking? What? Is this correct? Is this correct? Jack's side of the family keeps calling and messaging Eve to tell her what a selfish and awful person she is, and Jack refuses to defend. Eventually, Eve got sick of it and packed up and left to her mum's house to teach Jack a lesson. Pathetic, but he hasn't texted or called. Our mum thinks that he just needs some space and that he'll call soon, but I just laughed at that. Didn't mean to though. My mum and Eve asked me why I laughed, and I tried to brush it off or even leave, but they couldn't let me and pressed for an answer. Eventually, I told her that while the accident wasn't her fault, and she did keep Laurie away she did keep Laurie away from Jack's mum, meeting her for a week, and now she never will. Oh, for a week? That's a long time, considering it's like the new baby, the first grandchild and stuff like that. That's a long time. There's no way Jack is going to ever love you enough to forgive that, and that you should prepare for the worst. That maybe is going overboard. Eve started to bawl her eyes out while my mum berated me, so I left. Am I the asshole? Edit to add. Just to clarify, because I keep seeing this when the accident first happened, Eve has apologised 3 separate times. Jack has admitted to this, and Eve intended to go to the funeral with him, but he drove off without her. Oh, okay. Jack does interact with Laurie. It's Eve that he's icing out, and my niece is the only thing he's willing to talk to Eve about. Jack had been living in the guest room for 5 months before Eve left. This is a long time. She's offered to go to couples counselling, but Jack has refused. Okay, so he's still feeling some type of way about it after 5 months. So the question is, am I the asshole for telling my sister that she shouldn't overvalue herself and prepare for the worst? I don't see the part about overvaluing in your description here, in the actual story. I don't see where you've talked about overvaluing. But preparing for the worst after 5 months, and he still will only talk to you about your daughter and nothing else, and been sleeping in the guest bedroom that whole time, yada yada. Sounds like OP was just being really realistic, to be fair. Like, I don't think it's necessary for Jack's family to be like messaging and calling Eve to like say she's a horrible person, all that kind of stuff. I think that's really unnecessary. I don't think that's going to help anyone. But obviously he's still feeling that way about it. I do think that Eve was very clearly in the wrong, but she has apologised 3 separate times. She did intend to go to the funeral, but Jack was the one who drove off, not allowing her. I mean, Eve still could have got her own transportation to the funeral, but by that point I think it's pretty clear that Jack didn't want her there. So I think that would be like not cool for her to just go knowing that Jack didn't want her to be there. Do you know what I mean? So whilst I think Eve was initially dumb and unreasonable, that's not fair. I don't like to call people dumb, but what Eve initially did was dumb and unreasonable. She did then apologise, but now she's like trying to teach him a lesson, which is fucking stupid. Stop playing those games. That's really immature. But then she is willing to go to couples counselling, so she's got sort of pluses and minuses on her side, right? But at the end of the day, I do think it's been 5 fucking months. He doesn't want to go to couples counselling. He's not talking to you about anything else. I do think it's just realistic to be like, yeah, you shouldn't expect a happy result here. You should just prepare yourself for the worst. Doesn't mean the worst will happen, but 5 months is a long time to be in a mood with someone. I mean, obviously, like, I'm not trying to like belittle what happened, like it was a big thing that happened, but if after 5 months you can't like forgive. What was it OP did say actually? There was something OP did say which maybe was a bit not that nice. That's my doorbell, but I'm ignoring it. Where was it? Yeah, here. There's no way Jack is going to ever love you enough to forgive that. That was harsh. I think that was like being an asshole, and like how would you know that? It's not necessarily to do with love or whatever, so Yeah, whatever. Next one. Am I an asshole for sending my parents a picture of the biblical Rebecca every time they try to get in touch with me? I don't know about the Bible, so I hope you explain. I'm a 19-year-old woman currently in college. I come from a church family, and there was a big fight 2 years ago when I decided to get a septum piercing and a nose ring. Really? My parents thought it was trashy and whorish, and that only awful people get piercings like that and display them for everyone, of course. I'm not really religious, but I've read a lot of the Bible, and in one of the fights I pointed out that the biblical matriarch Rebecca, the wife of Isaac, wore a nose ring. Strictly speaking, it's not 100% textually clear that she did, but when when Elijah gives her one and some bracelets in Genesis 24:22, and a few verses later her brother notices her with the jewellery and the bracelets are explicitly being worn, I think the reading is much more natural that she just put the jewellery on, and if they're really all about me being godly and following the teachings of the Bible, there shouldn't be any problems with me having a nose ring. I mean, you're a grown-ass woman, you don't need your parents' approval for that anyway, right? That did not persuade them, and things have been a bit chilly since then. Although the distance when I went off to university has helped some. Still, my folks have reached out on several occasions, once every other month or so, and most of the time I'll respond, but usually send back pictures of some sort of image of Rebecca and an icon or something. I have not come home in person since I went off to study. This morning my uncle called up. I've gotten along better with him than most of my family, and he asked when I was going to stop being childish, and that while I have every right to keep my distance from my family, I should either say I don't want to have much contact and stick to it, or push for a reconciliation, and that sending passive-aggressive and catty pictures like this was just stirring up trouble for no actual benefit, and that I should stop. I have a lot of respect for my uncle's opinions, and maybe I shouldn't keep this going. On the other hand, my parents make me so steamed about making such a big deal over such a minor thing, and they still have never actually admitted they've done anything wrong because they don't think they have. Just that they're sorry it created a rift between us. Have I pushed this too far? So every time they try to get in touch with you, so OP went and got piercings that the parents didn't approve of. OP is a grown ass fucking woman, so it doesn't really matter what the parents think for all intents and purposes, right? But they don't like it. They were derogatory about said piercings. And OP tried to persuade them that, like, hey, it's actually, you know, semi-biblical to have piercings, so it's not a big deal. That didn't convince the parents. Still, my folks have reached out over several occasions, once every month or so, and most of the time I'll respond, but usually with those pictures. OP hasn't said that they'll contact them every couple of months to talk about the piercing or to give them a hard time about the piercing or anything about what they're contacting them about. It could even be a hi, how are you? And she's sending back, is it she? Yeah, and she's sending back these pictures. I do agree with the uncle. I think it's childish. I think it's passive aggressive. I think it's like kind of getting to what the word of the day seems to be here. Pathetic. Like, yeah, either don't talk to them and don't talk to them, or be like, yeah, actually, this wasn't a big deal. Surely we can move past it, agree to disagree, whatever. But don't be like, I'm not talking to you, but I'm going to send you these stupid fucking pictures every time you try and reach out. You're just stirring shit up, honestly. You're just like, it's like you're trying to extend the rift between you two. And like the parents have already said, we're sorry it created a rift between you. They're not going to apologise for their opinions and their views. Maybe they should apologise for the way that they express those opinions and views. I could see that. But OP isn't even asking for like a better apology. She's just being really immature about it. So yeah, I do think you're the asshole actually. Your parents are trying to, you know, reconcile, and you're just making things unnecessary. Next. Am I an asshole for making a joke that led to losing a daycare client? My wife and I have been running an in-home daycare for the last 5 years. Over the last year or so, we've become pretty close with a number of daycare families. These are people who we now consider to be our friends. One of these families is expecting a second child, and so the women of our group took it upon themselves to start planning a baby shower. It was then suggested by daycare mum Matilda that the shower be held in our home, since her home is 30 minutes away from town. We accepted and moved forward with the planning. Fast forward to the day of the shower, my wife and I sat down at a table with Matilda's husband and another couple. Is Matilda the pregnant one? I already forget. No, Matilda's the one that suggested having it at OP's house. So while this is happening, my wife is holding Matilda's 11-month-old and the other woman is holding Matilda's 3-year-old. The conversation shifts to the baby. Wait, let me process this because I read it but I didn't process it. So my wife, OP's wife, is holding Matilda's 11-month-old baby and the other woman that's there is holding the 3-year-old. The conversation shifts to the baby who OP's wife is holding, who has both of his hands wrapped in medical wrap. The couple asked Matilda's husband why his hands were wrapped. Well, as my wife and I already know and he explains, the baby touched a pellet stove at their home and burnt both of his palms. 3rd-degree burns, that's really bad. My wife very obviously jokingly said, "It's bad parenting, really?" While he was explaining. Okay, to which the other woman responded by reminding herself that Matilda's oldest 5-year-old had also burnt his hand when he was small. Oh, so it's happened more than once. The rest of the shower goes without a hitch. We clean up, everyone leaves. After about 30 minutes, my wife received a text from Matilda saying, "Hey, wife's name, I'm a little hurt today to come home and having heard that you'd made a comment to some people and said that it's because of bad parenting that baby got hurt, and it was repeated a few times. Even under the guise of joking, I don't feel like this was an acceptable or kind thing to say. We have barricades up in the house all the time to prevent them from getting to the fireplace. This was an unfortunate, awful accident in which multiple people were over for the holiday and the baby gate got moved. We are incredible parents and didn't deserve that." My wife and I were both very surprised at their text, and in the moment we both felt everything was blown out of proportion, and my wife did her best to explain what had happened and also hold her composure. Collectively, we both decided her joke was in poor taste, but we both also still felt that Matilda's texts were uncalled for after such a long time having known each other, but also having just offered up her home. But are still aware that the joke was in fact in poor taste. The whole thing escalated very quickly, and in the end, Matilda decided to remove her family from our care effective immediately after 5 years of watching over her children. We have cared for a total of 23 families over the last 5 years, blah blah. So, are we the asshole? Update. After reading through the comments, we also agree, as we suspected, that we are the assholes. However, I wanted to add some context and final thoughts to the experience. So basically, you're saying I'm not trying to defend myself, but let me try and defend myself. Context: this particular family has been a problem for a long time. Okay, so you're putting the blame on them. Perhaps it was frustration that led to the comment. It wasn't repeated by my wife or myself. The couple that was being spoken to are very close friends of Matilda. They were the ones who brought up the older child's burn. We didn't know about this. The baby was not taken to hospital or medical professional to seek treatment for the burn. Really? Final thoughts. While our comment was wrong and disrespectful, and we admit to being the asshole, we believe we are also to blame for allowing the negligence to occur. The biggest reason we were so surprised by the situation was because it happened so quickly. The whole text conversation between my wife and mother was maybe 10 minutes, giving almost no time to come to a more amicable resolution. Thanks for your replies. So, are you the asshole for making a joke that led to losing a daycare client? I agree that you're the asshole. I think that, you need to have a very, very close relationship to a parent to be able to make that kind of joke in the first place. But also the fact that they weren't even there. I thought that they were there in the conversation so they could kind of see and hear the way that you were saying it. But the fact that they weren't there just sounds as if you're talking about someone behind their back. And sure, friends will very often poke fun at each other, make fun at each other, say things that are clearly not serious. But again, when the person isn't there, and secondly, when it's about their fucking kids and the safety of their kids, which they're going to be really fucking sensitive about, and it's also happened recently, yeah, I don't think that that was an appropriate joke to make. But in addition to that, saying that like that Matilda's texts were like completely unreasonable and all this kind of stuff, you've only described one of the texts she sent, the first text that she sent. I think that text was actually totally reasonable. It was very composed, it was civil, it wasn't like having a go or anything. It's just saying, you know, like, we didn't feel that this was an acceptable thing to say. What's that about? The only thing that I kind of rolled my eyes out at was when they said, we are incredible parents. Like, it's just really cringy to me. But yeah, I get that like one accident or two accidents, unfortunate, doesn't necessarily make you a bad parent. But to be like, we're incredible parents, yeah, whatever. You didn't share any of the rest of the messages, so I can't see how that devolved. But I think the first message that Matilda sent was totally fine. And what else was it they said as well? something about after such a long time having known each other, well then you should know better to make that kind of joke after such a long time of knowing them. But also having just offered up her home. What, just because you've offered your home for somebody else's baby shower, you're allowed to like say nasty things about one of the guests? No. You're the asshole. At least you know that you're the asshole. Don't do it again in future. Last one I have for us. They've already been deemed the asshole, and I'm interested to know why. Because the question is, am I the asshole for telling my girlfriend that I'm bothered by the way she and her family treat their house staff? Which sounds as if maybe they treat them badly, but people are saying they're the asshole, so let's see. I, 25-year-old male, am dating this girl, 24-year-old female, for about 5 months. I knew her family was well off based on the story she told me about her upbringing, but I didn't get a chance to meet her parents until this week, when we all went to their beach house to spend a few days and celebrate her father's 60th birthday. The house wasn't just huge, but it also employed a staff of about 8 people. That is huge. I was never used to being served like that, and I witnessed some behaviours from my girlfriend and some of her family towards the workers that made me feel uncomfortable. So for example, after our first night, I heard her mother tell one of the housekeepers to clean the bedroom my girlfriend and I were staying in. I told her mother everything was in order and that I already made her bed before leaving. Her mother then told me, in the presence of the housekeeper, that I shouldn't bother because that's her housekeeper's job. Not the nicest, but not the worst either. The other morning my girlfriend and I woke up after everyone else had their breakfast. I went into the kitchen to grab some coffee and saw the cooks were already starting to prep for lunch, so I told them I didn't want to bother them and made the coffee myself. My girlfriend came into the kitchen moments later and saw me making coffee. Later that day, she complained to her mum, without even asking me how things came about, that the cooks left me to make my own coffee and I had to explain everything. That also not the worst, but does seem a bit like, calm down, I'm a grown-ass fucking adult, I can make my own coffee, it's okay. It was my choice, you didn't even ask me. On her father's birthday, they had a fancy dinner with some other guests that came just that day, and some of the staff was made to stand in the room with their backs to the wall as we sat at the table and ate. It was like some Downton Abbey shit. Yeah, that's very like, what's it, Eliza Doolittle, very like, oh, you know, we'll stand here and watch you eat, and you know, in case you need something, we'll just stand here the whole time. That's super awkward. I kept my mouth shut for the entire trip, but as soon as we came back, I couldn't hold it any longer and told my girlfriend it made me really uncomfortable to see how she behaved towards the staff, and also gave some examples of instances when I felt her parents were rude to them. My girlfriend didn't take this well. She said that I'm the asshole here for judging their lifestyle. In her mind, we had a perfect week together and I was withholding my judgment until I could unleash it all on her. I don't think I'm an asshole for speaking my mind. So am I the asshole for telling my girlfriend I'm bothered by the way she and her family treat her house staff? Honestly, I'm still kind of surprised that this person has been deemed the asshole, because I thought it was going to be like a whole making a scene situation, kind of like standing up in the middle of dinner and being like, that's terrible, you shouldn't treat your staff that way, I can't believe you're such horrible people, blah, blah, blah. It wasn't that. It was very like, okay, I'm going to keep my mouth shut, I'm not going to say anything. But then when you get home, be like, babe, I don't know, man, it just kind of made me feel like a bit uncomfortable, this whole situation. Like, for example, when this happened and that happened, like, I just, don't really feel that great about it. Like, as a couple, why shouldn't you be able to have that conversation? Like, you're not saying, hey, I've decided that you're a horrible person because of the way you and your family treat your house staff. I think you should fucking sort yourself out or whatever. It was just like, hey, this makes me feel uncomfortable. I don't think there's anything wrong with that personally. And they've given examples of like where it made them uncomfortable. So it's not as if, it's like just making a complaint without backing it up or something like that. I think it's okay. So I wanna read a couple of the comments here and see. Let me see. Obviously, people, regardless of their job, should be treated with respect, but I just want you to consider a different perspective for a second. The staff might be 100% okay with the behaviour you saw if they're paid enough or feel confident that it's better than other job options. An outsider seeing my job would probably think some parts of it are ridiculous, but those parts are worth it to me as a person actually doing the job, etc. I'm not saying you're wrong for feeling uncomfortable with the behaviour that you saw. I'm just cautioning you that you might be white knighting for people who are actually okay with the work environment that you saw. I understand what you're trying to say here, but I don't think it's that, because he wasn't like jumping in being like, that's terrible, like you should think about how they feel and like blah blah blah. It was, I feel uncomfortable. Do you know what I mean? I think that's the difference, because like, I've been asked before, like, hey, when I see like, from men, I've been asked, when I see like sexist comments or behaviour that like seems like sexual harassment, as a man who isn't the victim of the situation, how can I object to that without it being like, oh, a woman needs me to protect her, a woman needs me to come in and white knight or whatever? Do you know what I mean? And my response to that is like, hey, if you are offended by that behaviour because you think that kind of behaviour is wrong, then that's you standing up for what you believe is right and wrong, not saying like, hey, you shouldn't treat this person this way because this person is just weak, this person, is below you, is beneath you or whatever. Like, don't talk about the other person, the subject of the behaviour that you don't approve of. Like, you can, just because you're yourself or not, like, I don't want to use the word victim, but do you know what I mean? Just because you're not the person that the behaviour is being directed towards doesn't mean you can't still take offence to it and can't still think that behaviour is wrong and want to do something about it. Because, there's evil people and there's stuff that let evil, or what is it? There's people that do evil stuff, and then there's people who let evil stuff happen or let other people do. You know what I'm trying to say? Do you know what I mean? So then it's like, where do you fucking draw the line? So what, no one's allowed to stand up for each other? No one's allowed to say, hey, I'm not directly affected by this, but actually I'm affected by it because we live in a fucking society. Do you know what I'm saying? So I get where this commenter is coming from, but I don't agree with that. Your girlfriend should have told you, prepared you, blah blah blah. The fact is, that's the way things are run at her place. Can you accept it and not see it as exploitation? The staff is working and is compensated, or does this make you uncomfortable? Well, clearly the situation makes them uncomfortable. Soft, you're the asshole, but to the question asked, but everyone here sucks. So, do you know what a housekeeper is? Cleaning and tidying up is their job. You're acting like it's not respectable. I don't think so. No, I don't agree with that. Sounds sort of hypocritical with a hint of self-righteous. That being said, the polite thing would have been to explain to you what job responsibilities the housekeeper has in a more delicate way. How did your girlfriend and your mum respond once you clarified? Again, cooking, coffee, etc. for the house, blah blah blah. If they're ignoring their own guest culinary needs, then they're not doing their job. If they still were going to reprimand the cooks or kitchen staff after your explanation, that isn't cool, unless they're supposed to take over for guests. Again, I'm not sure what's the problem here. If the server's job is to serve the table, then what do you expect? Do you expect them to stand in another room peeping around corners or through windows like a stalker? No, but it's like, do you know that way when you're at a restaurant, the waiters don't stand behind you waiting to see like when you're going to need your glass filled? Like they'll go around, they'll do other things, they'll check on you as everything. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think OP is the asshole here. what do you think? What are your opinions on this post and the other ones we've talked about? Yeah, like as always, I tend to just like get worked up and say that everyone's fucking like being ridiculous and whatnot. But I'm interested to know what you think, especially of this last one that we just talked about. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Yeah, that's it. I hope you have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you again in the next one. Bye bye, bye bye.